Alone at midnight, a child screams, "Mommy." Then the cleaner reveals a shocking secret. A chilling wind howled through the abandoned hallways of Maplewood Orphanage, carrying with it the echoes of long-forgotten laughter and sorrow. The old building creaked, its wooden beams groaning like weary souls trapped within its walls. But at the stroke of midnight, one sound shattered the eerie silence: a child's piercing scream. "Mommy." The desperation in that one word ripped through the darkness like a knife, cutting deep into the hearts of anyone who happened to hear it. What was a child doing here? Alone, in this haunted place? The air was thick with anticipation, as if the very walls held their breath. Shadows danced ominously in flickering candlelight, revealing a room cluttered with dusty toys and faded memories. An old rocking horse swayed slightly, as if remembering the warmth of a child's embrace. There was something unsettling about the way it moved, almost as if it was aiding in the search for its lost owner. In the corner lay a figure, a cleaner named Oliver, dragging a mop behind him. His hands trembled, not just from the cold but an unshakable sense of dread. Oliver had worked in this orphanage for years, and he had come to know its secrets: the whispers of lost hopes, the flickering lights that would come on unexpectedly, and the cold spots where no warmth could reach. Tonight, the shadows seemed deeper, more alive than ever before. And that scream, it changed everything. Peering into the room where the cries originated, Oliver felt a knot tighten in his chest. He stepped in, heart racing, sensing that he was not alone. Was it merely a child he sought? Or was something sinister lurking just beyond his vision? The hairs on the back of his neck stood upright, a primal instinct warning him to retreat. But curiosity pulled him forward, deeper into the mystery that surrounded the child's desperate call for help. But here's the thing: before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With a racing heart, Oliver turned his gaze toward the closet in the corner, the very spot where he felt an overwhelming presence. The door creaked open on its own, revealing a dark abyss that seemed to pull him closer. Just then, another shout pierced through the air: "Help me, please." Oliver felt his breath catch, a lump forming in his throat. Every instinct screamed at him to run. Yet, he stood frozen, torn between fear and the undeniable urge to uncover the truth. As he stepped toward that ominous closet, a chill ran down his spine. What awaited him inside? Would the child be there, the answer to the scream echoing in his mind? Or was something far more sinister waiting, ready to unveil its shocking secret? The air crackled with an energy he could not shake. He reached for the door, and with a final breath, he pushed it open wide. The closet door swung open with a deafening creak, sending a shiver up Oliver's spine. Darkness enveloped him like a cold embrace, swallowing the flickering candlelight behind him. He squinted into the depths, heart pounding. "Hello? Is anyone there?" he called out, his voice trembling, nearly lost in the shadows. Suddenly, the air shifted, heavy with a sense of dread and unfulfilled promise. "Help me." The voice was faint, but Oliver recognized it as the child's voice from before, sweet yet laced with a painful desperation. It beckoned him, pulling Oliver deeper into the unknown. That he mustered every ounce of courage he had left and stepped inside, the darkness wrapping around him like a thick blanket. As he moved further, the smell of dust mingled with something far more unsettling, a metallic scent that prickled the back of his throat. The air felt wrong, stale, like it hadn't been disturbed in decades. "Where are you?" Oliver whispered, his heart racing as he strained to catch any sense of movement. Just outside the door, the orphanage felt like a distant memory, as if he had crossed into a parallel world where time stood still. Before he could call out again, a figure emerged at the far end of the closet. Small and frail, a child with tangled hair peered out from behind a shadowy figure. The faint glow from the candlelight illuminated wide, terrified eyes gazing back at him. "They won't let me leave." Please help me. The child looked familiar, almost as if Oliver had seen those eyes somewhere before. What do you mean? Who won't he let you leave? Panic smothered his throat. The last flicker of candlelight flickered ominously, casting fleeting shadows on the walls that seemed to inch closer. Mommy? The child's voice broke Oliver's heart, echoing with innocence and despair. As he reached out, the shadow beside her moved, a dark silhouette that absorbed the light, an unnatural shape that sent a chill coursing through Oliver's veins. Suddenly, a bony hand shot out from the darkness, gripping Oliver's wrist with an icy hold. His instincts screamed at him to pull away, but the grip tightened as if it could sense his fear, feeding off of it. With a strength that belied its frail appearance, the figure yanked him closer. Don T. The child screamed, her voice rising in panic. You have to go. You're in danger. Oliver's breath came in ragged gasps. The grip on his arm made it feel like his bones might splinter. He could see the flickering glow of the exit just behind him, beckoning him to escape while the shadows whispered around him, taunting him with promises of secrets long hidden. Fight it. You have to fight it. The child's plea renewed his determination, pushing against the pull of fear that threatened to paralyze him. Summoning every ounce of his strength, he tore his arm away from the icy grip, stumbling back, retreating toward the light, but just as he reached the threshold, the cold shadow lunged, the hungry darkness surging forth, trying to pull him back into its depths. No. You can't leave. It bellowed, a voice that vibrated through his bones, heart racing. Oliver stepped back, but the child's face twisted into a mask of terror. You have to believe me. You have to save her. She pointed desperately deeper into the dark, words tumbling out. It's all connected. You have to find the truth. With his mind spinning, Oliver felt the weight of those words press against him. What truth? What connection? Just as the shadows threatened to swallow him whole, he dove through the threshold, gasping for the cold night air. Gasping in the hallway, Oliver's heart raced as he turned to look back at the ominous closet. What had he glimpsed within? What lay waiting in the darkness? Each question nagged at him, but one stood out above all. What truth did he need to uncover, and could he bring the child home? Outside, the hushed whispers of the orphanage seemed to beckon him once more. There was no turning back now. The night had only just begun, and as he took a step forward, he knew he was diving deeper into a dark mystery he had no choice but to unravel. But the shadows shifted behind him, and he felt their cold breath on his neck, urging him to uncover what lay in the darkness and who he truly needed to save. What awaited him next? That hung in the balance, just teasingly out of reach. Oliver stumbled into the cold night, trying to shake off the icy tendrils of fear clinging to his skin. Each breath filled him with an almost suffocating dread. Would the child's pleading echo in his mind forever? His heart raced, but he couldn't let that stop him now. The shadows were still behind him, whispering secrets he couldn't yet fathom. That he glanced quickly back at the closet door, half expecting it to swing open again, releasing whatever horror lay dormant inside. The dim candlelight flickered and faded, leaving behind an unsettling void. He could feel it, the weight of countless eyes watching from the darkened halls of the orphanage, each heartbeat resonating with unspoken questions. Taking a deep breath, he pressed forward. The orphanage stood tall, its architecture both haunting and majestic in the moonlight, like a relic holding too many secrets. But it was the shadow of the past that loomed larger. The sense of inevitability hung in the air, curling around him, pulling him back towards the cliffs of curiosity and fear. Find the truth. The child's words echoed in his mind, a mantra now rooted in him. He nodded, steeling his resolve. He needed answers, not just for her but for himself. Where could he start? His feet carried him to the common room, a place that had once been filled with laughter. Now, the silence was oppressive, suffocating. He peered around at the dusty furniture, the dim outlines of toys that hadn't moved in years. Everything felt eerily still, yet alive with memories just beyond his reach. Then he noticed something out of place, a stack of old journals piled haphazardly on a shelf. With no time to waste, he scrambled over, fighting against the weight of the past, flipping through the pages. Each faded entry revealed the struggles and hopes of the children that had once called this place home. But one entry caught his eye. It was dated years ago, penned in hurried scrawls that seemed frantic. They take her at midnight, she's lost in the darkness. Oliver's blood turned to ice as he read on. The entry detailed a girl who had vanished only to be described as a bright light snuffed out too soon. Every child in the orphanage knows the story, but they don't dare speak of it. We mustn't wake the shadows. Panic surged within him. Who was this girl they were all afraid of? Was she connected to the child he had glimpsed in the closet? The world felt tighter, the walls closing in as he pieced together the danger surrounding him. Just then, the door creaked open, pulling Oliver back from the abyss of thought. A figure emerged, the night cleaner, an old woman with sharp eyes that glinted like glass. She was hunched, dragging a large bucket behind her. "Oliver," she rasped, her voice like dry leaves rustling. "You shouldn't be here. It's not safe." He felt a jolt in his chest. "I was just enough." Her chilling eyes locked onto his. "You've seen things, haven't you? The child in the darkness?" He hesitated, confusion swirling in his mind. "What do you know about her?" The woman's gaze softened a fraction. "More than you can imagine. But you need to listen carefully. What the shadows want is not what you expect. The truth can be deadly." Each word hung heavy, filled with a weight Oliver couldn't ignore. Did she know the connection? "Please, tell me," he pleaded. "How can I help her?" The cleaner stepped closer, the echoes of the past flickering behind her. "You need to go back into the darkness. Only there will you find what you seek." A chill rippled through him, a clash of fear and duty. The shadows didn't just whisper, they roared, asking for his courage. "Go now," she urged, her voice barely above a whisper. "Before it's too late." Oliver blinked and took a step back, dread pooling in his stomach. "But I can't just dive back in there. I don't know what's waiting for me." The woman leaned in, her breath cold against his skin. "You've already been marked, Oliver. They won't wait for you to decide. You must save her, or you risk losing everything." As she disappeared back into the darkness, his heart raced anew. Was he truly ready? But it wasn't just fear gnawing at him now, it was the relentless pull of hope, what awaited him beyond the threshold once more. His heart thrummed a quiet rhythm as he turned back towards the ominous closet. The shadows beckoned, holding secrets that were no longer out of reach. All that was left was for him to embrace the night and the truth hidden within it. Oliver gripped the edge of the closet door, the old wood splintering under the pressure of his trembling hands. His heart pounded like a war drum, thundering in time with the call of the shadows. He knew he couldn't turn back now. With a sharp inhale, he stepped inside, the darkness swallowing him whole. The air was thick and stale, laced with the scent of mildew and secrets. Instinctively, he reached for the small flashlight in his pocket, flicking it on to pierce the inky blackness. The beam quivered, illuminating cobwebs and forgotten memories, ghosts of a time long past. As he ventured deeper, the echoes of distant whispers danced around him, jagged fragments of laughter mixed with cries of despair. It twisted in his gut. He pressed on, each step weighted with the burden of urgency. The child's plea rang in his ears, "Find me then." A soft sound broke through the murmur, a gentle thump, followed by an unmistakable giggle. It was high-pitched and innocent, yet it dripped with an otherworldly quality that sent a shiver down his spine. It felt close, too close. "Hello?" he called out, his voice swallowing the permanence of silence. No answer. Turning back towards the closet's depths, he spotted a dim glow flickering ahead. Summoning every ounce of courage, he moved toward it, trepidation clawing at his chest. What he found was a small room, walls adorned with childish drawings that seemed to shimmer in the flashlight's beam. Crayons had colored lives into the wall's sunny skies, roaring dragons, and castles, so many castles. But they were marred by shadowy figures lurking just outside the frames, dark and ominous. In the center of the room sat a lone figure. A girl with unruly hair and wide, frightened eyes stared back at him. The glow emanated from her tiny hands. How could this be real? She looked so familiar, as if she might melt into the wall at any moment. "Please, help me," she urged, her voice pulling him closer. Her small frame trembled as she spoke. "They come for me at midnight." Oliver's heart dropped. Who? Who comes?" "Shadows," she whispered, a tremor in her voice. "They want me to join them." "I've tried to hide," but she hesitated, casting a look over her shoulder as if expecting to see them. "They're getting stronger. You have to hurry. The time is nearly up." His pulse raced as he realized the hour was drawing near. "How do I help you? What do I need to do?" "No one can hold it back alone," she murmured, her gaze flickering again to those lurking figures that stretched into the corners of the room. "But there might be a way if you can find the key." "Key?" His thoughts swirled. "What key?" "In the book," she said urgently. "The one with the faded cover on the shelf. It tells what they desire, what you must become." Casting a look over his shoulder, he darted back, nearly tripping over his own feet in his haste. The shelf creaked under his fingers as he searched. When his hands found the ancient book, its spine cracked just as he opened it. Words danced across the pages, coiling like smoke, luring him into their depths. But the shadows crept closer, curling around the corners of the room. A whisper rose, full of malice, "Oliver, time is almost up." He glanced back to the girl. Her eyes were filled with a blend of fear and something else, hope, perhaps. "Tell me how to stop this," he yelled, fighting the fear that threatened to engulf him. "I don't know," she cried as the faint glow from her hands began to flicker. "I can only show you the way, but you must choose to follow." The walls quaked, the shadows deepening with every heartbeat. "Choose wisely," she whispered, glancing at the book. Before midnight strikes, as the clock in the distance chimed ominously, Oliver felt the world shift beneath him. He had to decide fast. The light was dimming, and the shadows encroached, hungry and relentless. Was he brave enough to confront the darkness? To face what lay hidden within, he stood at the crossroads of fear and choice. Would he forge ahead, risking everything? The echoes of that child's South plea pressed close upon him, the weight of desperation stretching the bounds of reason. The answer was out there, waiting. All he had to do was take a leap. But what if the leap led him into the depths of despair? The old woman's warnings flashed through his mind. What price for the truth? As the last chime rang out, Oliver felt the shadows stretching, ready to claim him. "Oliver!" The girl cried out, her voice piercing the veil of darkness, a lifeline reaching for him. Could he hold on long enough to find the key, or would he become yet another whisper lost in the shadows? The moment the last toll of the clock echoed into the room, an icy breath swept through the air. Oliver felt it sweep over him, fingers of dread curling around his throat. He turned to the girl, her glow flickering like a dying star. "What do I need to do?" he pleaded, desperation clawing at his insides. "Read," she shouted, her voice laced with urgency. "The answer lies within the pages. But be careful, it knows when you're afraid." He swallowed hard, his heart racing as he thrust the flashlight toward the book. The shadows danced closer, swirling like ravenous wolves poised to strike. Trembling, he opened the tome wide, its pages musty and fragile, revealing a chaotic jumble of words that writhed and shifted. "What do they want?" he called out, forcing the words past the lump in his throat. "They crave your fear, Oliver," she urged, her tiny voice straining against the chaos. "It feeds them. You must not let it take you. Illuminate the truth." He focused on the text, the words flashing in the dim light. One stood out: "Surrender is the key. Face the darkness to harness its power." His stomach knotted. What did surrender even mean? Oliver could feel the shadows pressing against him, like a wave of thick, suffocating fog. "I don't understand. What does it want?" With every heartbeat, the shadows crept closer, reaching with tendrils that brushed against his skin, cold and clammy. The girl's glow dimmed further, her expression fraying with fear. "You must confront it. Find the courage in your heart." He took a deep breath, summoning strength from some elusive place inside. What choice did he have? The girl was counting on him. The only path forward was to face this horror. He felt the grip of fear loosen just a fraction. What if he could turn the tide? Okay, he said, his voice firmer now, steadying himself against the fear flooding his mind. I'll do it. As he concentrated, he began to read aloud from the book, his voice echoing through the tiny room. To face the shadows, one must acknowledge their pain, embrace the darkness, and find light within. With each word, a peculiar energy filled the air, swirling like a tempest. The shadows paused, shifting uneasily, as if they sensed a shift in the atmosphere. But then the shadows surged. A deafening cacophony of whispers surged within the room, a torrent of anguish masking the girl's voice. Oliver. Be strong. The glow from her hands flared, but the shadows retaliated, tendrils wrapping around her legs, trying to pull her back into the darkness. Panic gripped Oliver. No. He shouted. I want to let you take her. He tightened his grip on the book, his heart pounding like a war drum again, but this time driving him forward. Gathering all his will, he bore his heart open, allowing the fear to surge through him like molten lava. I feel you. He cried into the darkness, channeling every ounce of fear, pain, and regret. I know you. You can't have her, you don't own me. And then something shifted. The shadows wailed, recoiling as if struck, the air vibrating with their fury. The girl's glow intensified, casting a warm light that illuminated the hideous figures flanking the periphery horrors made up of fears Oliver had tried to bury. Keep going. You can do it. She urged, fiercely locking eyes with him, the light spilling between them like a lifeline, summoning every last shred of courage. Oliver shouted, You can't feed on us. We choose light. Suddenly, the book responded, the pages fluttering wildly, and with a burst of brilliance, light erupted around him, swallowing the shadows in a wave of purity. An otherworldly shriek echoed as the darkness writhed, scattering into nothingness. But I still don't have the key. He shouted, confusion flooding him as the room dissolved around them. As the chaos settled into silence, he blinked at the girl, whose frightened gaze remained fixed on something behind him, eyes wide with terror. Behind you, she whispered, the ground trembling beneath them. Oliver whipped around, heart racing. He gasped at the sight. Oliver, we have unfinished business. A voice emerged from the shadows, low and sinister, cutting through the lingering light. He felt his breath hitch as dread washed over him. What new terror lurked just beyond the light's reach? Would Oliver have the strength to face this looming darkness? And what truth awaited him in the shadows that called his name? The voice hung in the air like a storm brewing on the horizon. Each syllable sent a chill down Oliver's spine, tightening a knot of terror in his stomach. He turned slowly, the very act seeming to take an eternity. Emerging from the shadows was a figure cloaked in darkness, its features indistinguishable, yet somehow familiar. The figure's voice dripped with malice. You lost something precious, didn't you, Oliver? Something you're not ready to face. His heart raced. What do you mean? He stammered, doing everything he could to keep the tremor out of his voice. Your fear has always been your anchor, your weakness. Yet, you're not entirely aware of its power or the trust you place in others. The shadow stepped closer, the dim light glinting off the edge of its form, teasing at a face that resembled his own. No. You're lying. He yelled, clenching his fists, bright determination fueling his resolve. But doubt crept in like the cold hands of the shadows lingering just out of sight. Am I? It asked, a mockery of a smile curling on its lips. What about your mother? The guilt you hold like a dagger, buried deep in your soul. She relied on you. And where did that leave her? The girl gasped beside him, her light flickering as if quaking in response to the figure's words. Don't listen. It's trying to twist your heart. But Oliver couldn't shake it off. The weight of regret bore down on him. Shadows danced at the periphery of his mind, whispering his fears into the darkness. Images flooded his thoughts, his mother's worried face, her soft cries during the long nights he had avoided. I didn't mean for, of course not. the figure taunted. But intentions matter little in the realm of shadows. It's your fear that grants me life. Stop! Oliver shouted, trying to drown out the encroaching darkness. Yet the words cut deeper than any spectral blade. I want to let you have her. I won't give in. The shadows surged at his defiance, swirling like a tempest, their whispers now a howling wind. What will you offer in return, then? It said, barely audible amidst the cacophony. Face the truth or lose everything you hold dear. The girl tightened her grip on his arm, her light flaring defiantly. You can do this, Oliver. Focus on what truly matters. With every ounce of effort, he wrestled with the darkness and the suffocating weight of fear threatening to pull him under. Desperation clawed at his throat as he considered what he'd lost. The truth lay buried beneath layers of grief and guilt. Forget the worries, he told himself. Forget the shadows. Think of your mother, the warmth of her smile. All he had to do was tap into that memory. Mom, he breathed, forcing the word past his lips. The shadows writhed and shrieked, the figure's form flickering. I won't be afraid anymore. He shouted, channeling his love, his longing, the anguish of loss. The woman he had lost wasn't just a memory, she was a light, fueling his fight. Then, just as he spoke her name again, a powerful wave of energy pulsed through him, igniting an intense glow that erupted from his chest. He could feel the shadows recoiling, pulsating with fear of their own. Get back! He cried, raising his free hand, the light within him expanding, merging with the girl's brightness. Together, they became a beacon, fierce and unyielding, a force the darkness had never known. The sinister figure backed away, its form twisting in agony as the shadows parted, exposing its true nature for just a moment. Behind the cloak of darkness lay the twisted reflection of Oliver, a grotesque reminder of what he could become. Oliver. The girl called, her voice ringing like a bell. It's working. Don't stop. But then, in the midst of the rising power, the figure hissed, you may wish to cling to those memories, boy, but they won't save you, not after this. Something shifted in the air, a presence growing more formidable, an echo of the past rushing toward him. His heart sank. What could it mean? He glanced at the girl, the flicker of fear mirrored in her eyes, and suddenly a realization dawned on him. Had the darkness been calling for him all along? Oliver! She exclaimed, the urgency returning. We must not let it take us. But shadows loomed larger, the fear thickening. What fresh horrors lay within those depths? And would he have enough strength to confront yet another truth? The light they summoned surged between them, pulsating like a heartbeat, banishing the deeper darkness for a fleeting moment. Yet as the figure recoiled, the echoes of its words twisted in Oliver's mind. He couldn't shake the reality that lingered around him, both within and without. The air felt heavy, saturated with anticipation, as if the night itself were holding its breath. Oliver. The girl urged, tightening her grip. Keep pushing. Don't let it whisper doubts in your ear. He nodded, anxiety coursing through him. The shadows hissed and writhed, darting back like waves crashing against the shore, but the retreat was not permanent. They gathered once more, swooping in like a pack of crows eager to feast on fear. I won't give you my fear. He shouted, a surge of determination pulsing through him. You can't have what you don't own. But the figure laughed, a sound that echoed hollowly in the night. You may try, but you still dance on the strings of your regrets. They are woven into you. Beautifully embroidered, Oliver. Each stitch a moment of sorrow, every thread a lost opportunity. Shut up! He yelled, fists clenched. The darkness responded with a rush, a sudden gust of wind that threatened to snuff out the light he had ignited. Are you afraid of your truths? Or rather, it taunted, stepping closer, afraid to face yourself? What did it mean? The words hit home, chipping away at his resolve. He was losing ground, the light beginning to flicker as shadows clawed from every direction. He had fought before, but the weight of past failures pulled him down like an anchor. Just when hope felt all but extinguished, Oliver recalled the warmth of his mother's embrace, the safety of her laughter. "Mom," he breathed once more, tapping into that delicate memory, allowing it to blossom like a flower in spring. The shadows quivered, and he felt the energy within him swell. The girl stepped forward, light spilling from her hands, infusing their combined power. "Yes. Hold on to that. Focus on love." But as they surged once again against the darkness, something unexpected happened. The shadows began to morph, not just retreating but reshaping, twisting into horrific caricatures of Oliver's past. Faces he recognized flickered before him, each etched with disappointment, anger, and longing. Friends lost, childhood mistakes. The shadows had transcended mere whispers, becoming tangible, body and blood. "No. Get away," he shouted, stepping back in horror as one of the figures reached out, its fingers laced with venomous intent. "Oliver, we must stay strong," the girl cried, tears streaming down her cheeks, her light flickering dangerously. "You can face them. They're not real." But as they lunged, each apparition bore a piece of truth, a piece of himself he had buried. He could almost hear their voices. "You'll never be enough. Look how you failed. She needed you." A spike of terror pierced him again. "Stop. Just stop." Suddenly, he felt it, a jagged rift between grief and courage, a fissure holding enough power to break the cycle. What if facing them didn't mean submission? What if accepting his past empowered him? He took a deep breath, drawing strength from every moment of resilience he could claim. "I am more than my mistakes," he shouted, the words bursting from his lips with raw defiance. "I am love, hope, and a promise to make things right." The burgeoning light within him pushed against the shadows, illuminating their forms as they hesitated, wavering uncertainly. Oliver stepped forward, reaching for the nearest illusion, his past in its distorted manifestation. "I forgive you," he cried out, his heart hammering as he touched the shadow's hand. It gasped, its shape flickering, bending under the strength of his declaration. One by one, the figures dissolved into wisps of darkness. Their anguished expressions faded like evening mist, and for the first time, Oliver felt a warmth blossoming behind the echoing dread. But just as victory seemed tangible, an unspeakable roar shattered the calm, a violent storm erupting through the rift left by the shadows. The very ground trembled, the air thickening as a new threat neared, more powerful than the last, more consuming. "What was that?" the girl whispered, pale and trembling beside him. A gust swept through, filled with an ominous chill, heralding the arrival of something far more sinister. "We have awakened something," she murmured, voices from the shadows merging into a chilling harmony. "What is happening?" he called out, panic creeping into his voice, and as darkness surged, a flicker of recognition crossed the girl's face like a whisper of the past resurfacing. What had they unleashed? As they were engulfed, Oliver's heart raced with fear and realization. Could their light withstand this? Would he have the strength to face this new horror? The shadows roared louder, and Oliver's soul cried out for answers. The shadow twisted, its form bending and reshaping into a hideous amalgamation of faces. They laughed, a cacophony that pierced the fraying edges of Oliver's resolve. The girl gasped, her light diminishing as terror struck her heart. "We need to stand together," Oliver urged, desperation clawing at his throat. "Remember the light. Focus on it." But her eyes were wide, reflecting disbelief as she glanced at the nightmarish faces swirling around them. With every passing second, her light flickered as if siphoned by the encroaching darkness. "No. You're not real," she yelled, stepping back. Each step felt like a retreat into chaos. As if sensing her fear, the specters surged forward, their hands seeming to reach right through the darkness to clutch at her, a grotesque betrayal of memories. Oliver's heart thudded painfully against his ribs. He couldn't let her fall. "Don't give them power," he shouted, the words cascading out with fierce intent. "This isn't our end. It can't be." Another terrifying roar burst forth, rattling the very air between them. It was a living, breathing entity, the remnants of their fear embodied, a storm demanding acknowledgement. Oliver's mind raced, memories clashed with the present moment, making every heartbeat feel visceral. He could almost see every sad goodbye and harsh word rising up like ghosts in fog. "Mom, I need you," he cried, feeling her presence in every fiber of being. The darkness laughed again, a twisted mockery that sent shivers down his spine. "She can't save you now, Oliver. No one can. I can save myself," he shouted, a new determination emerging. With every surge of darkness, he drew in memories that had become his armor, moments of laughter, of courage, moments of unrelenting love. Suddenly, from within the engulfing night, a glimmer ignited in the corner of his eye. The warmth of their memories seemed to form a luminous shield, pulsating in rhythm with his heartbeat. "Together," he urged, extending his hand to the girl. She hesitated only briefly before taking it, her glory reigniting with sparks of hope. "Where's the pulse?" she cried, desperation knitting her brow. "We need to find the source. They're just echoes," Oliver yelled, urgency coursing through him. "We have to confront them, not run." The shadows recoiled as he pressed forward, the warmth from their light intertwining, creating a bridge of luminescent power. Together, their combined strength surged against the wave of darkness. Faces twisted in pain dissolved into screams of regret, brilliance overpowering the despair they had wielded for so long. But as they pressed toward the heart of the storm, something shifted, cold, sharp, and sudden. Dark tendrils coiled around them tighter, threatening to pull them apart. "Oliver!" the girl shouted, panic lacing her voice. "No. Fight it," he urged. But the darkness was relentless, smashing against their light, trying to extinguish it. In a moment of clarity amidst the chaos, he understood the terrifying truth: the shadows were more than mere echoes. They were formed from unfinished truths and the unspoken fears that lingered like uninvited guests. The darkness wasn't simply a foe but a reflection of all they had fought to ignore. Oliver felt the ground shift beneath them, a gap growing where their feet met the earth. "What do we do?" she cried, terrified as she glanced at the widening abyss. "We embrace it," he shouted, seizing her hand tighter. "We face the truth and demand freedom." Gathering every ounce of courage left, they stood united, hands clasped, hearts racing as they drove the light forward, ready to confront the shadowy figures born of despair. With a colossal surge, they released the light, illuminating the darkness surrounding them, their voices entwined in one final battle cry. And then silence. The rush of the storm halted. But just as relief washed over them, a vibration hummed through the ground, and laughter, a cruel, echoing cackle, rose from the depths of the darkness. The girl froze, horror spilling over her features. "What is that?" A new figure emerged from the void. Tall, cloaked in shadow, its eyes glowed with a malevolent gleam. "We've only just begun," it whispered, its voice thick with promises of chaos yet to come. "Run!" Oliver screamed, adrenaline surging once more through his veins, but in that moment, the shadows howled, a collective roar of hunger and dread, and they realized they had awakened something darker, something ancient. Would their light be enough to brave this new terror? Would they finally uncover the truth lurking in the heart of the shadows? As they turned, hearts pounding with uncertainty, the endless void swallowed their voices. The ground trembled underfoot as confusion spiraled through Oliver's mind. Panic ignited his senses, and he could already feel the oppressive weight of the shadows closing in. The towering figure before them seemed to absorb what little light remained, a black vacuum threatening to consume them whole. "Move!" he yelled, pulling the girl with him. They stumbled back, hearts racing as they darted away from the sight of that malevolent specter. Each quick step felt like running through thick molasses. The shadows loomed everywhere, whispering threats and fears in a muffled chorus. "Where do we go?" she gasped, her breath coming in short bursts as her light began to flicker again. "Anywhere but here," Oliver shouted, his mind screaming for a way out. They dashed down a narrow corridor carved from darkness, twisting and winding, as if the shadows themselves were alive, manipulating their path. Suddenly, the laughter erupted again, echoing violently off unseen walls. It was disembodied, surrounding them, and it clawed at Oliver's sanity. "Let me in. Let me show you the truth," it crooned, chilling him to the bone. "Don't listen," he cried, desperation mounting as he thought of what the figure had said, how they had awoken something ancient. "You're stronger than this. Remember the light." She nodded, summoning a flicker of courage. Her light surged ever so slightly, illuminating the corridor and casting shadows that danced menacingly against the walls. "Keep going," Oliver urged as they rounded a corner, the darkness writhing behind them like a slithering serpent. As they raced on, they reached a threshold where the shadows thinned. A weighty silence fell in this space, as though they had crossed a boundary. Oliver slowed, breathless, eyes darting to the dimness that still clawed at their backs. "We can't stop," she said, her voice trembling. "What do we do now?" Oliver swallowed, glancing around. "We need to find the source of their power." "If we cut off the root, wait," she interrupted, peering into the distance. "Do you see that?" Through the lingering twilight, an ethereal glow pulsed ahead. It was faint but unmistakably bright, like a beacon promising refuge. They approached slowly, hesitantly, as if the light might vanish at any moment. Oliver felt a sudden sense of familiarity, a tingle of recognition. He reached out, drawn in. But just as they crested a rise, the temperature plummeted. A deep, unfurling shadow surged forward, morphing into 1,000 faces, each one twisted in sorrow. "You think you can escape?" It boomed, the unity of their cries filled with an unbearable grief. "In your hearts lay the truth, yet you run," the figure cried, eyes locking onto Oliver. "I won't run anymore," he exclaimed, fueled by something deep within. "We're not afraid of you." The girl squeezed his hand. "Together, right? We face it together." "Together," he whispered back, the shared determination igniting a spark of hope. But as the darkness surged once more, it carried a weight of despair that pressed down on them, threatening to ground their strength. "Do you remember, Oliver? What you buried in your heart?" the figure asked, and with that, a flood of memories cascaded through him. Moments of hurt, anger, and unconditional love spun in a torturous whirlpool, each one a dagger. "Stop!" he shouted, clutching his head. "I want to let you in." But the laughter surrounded him again, dark and triumphant. "Your light cannot break the truth woven in darkness. It only reveals the wounds you've neglected." Oliver could feel his grip on the light slipping. Searing pain shot through him, strangling hope. "Embrace your truth, Oliver," it whispered, laced with threads of familiarity. "Only then will you understand." The girl tugged at him, eyes wild with fear. "We need to focus. Now." But as their light flickered in the chaos, the truth loomed larger, stretching out like a shadow that threatened to swallow them whole. Then he heard it, a whisper that echoed deep inside him, the familiar tremor of unresolved memories. The moment had come. What secret lay dormant in that turmoil? Would they dare to unveil it, or would that revelation tear them apart? With a heart pounding wildly, Oliver faced the unraveling depths around them, bracing for what would emerge from within the darkness. The shadows roared with renewed vigor, their chaotic whispers swirling faster around Oliver and the girl. They were being pulled into the eye of a storm whose weight pressed down like a blanket of despair. "We have to break free," Oliver shouted, taking a firm grip of the girl's hand. As he faced the darkness, memories of his mother flooded back, each one illuminating a path forward. He could hear her laughter resonate, wrapping around him in warmth and light. "Hold on to the love," he yelled, channeling every ounce of hope he had left. "Remember who you are," the girl echoed, her voice fighting against the growls of the shadow. She squeezed his hand tighter. "We aren't alone in this, we fight for each other." As they stepped forward, the shape of the malevolent figure resonated closer, its haunting eyes shimmering with malicious glee. Oliver felt a rush of adrenaline combine with his inner strength. "You don't have to listen to these lies," he declared, raising their joined hands high. With that, a beam of light erupted from them, piercing the gloom. There was a shift in the shadows. They recoiled, the sinister laughter transforming into wary hisses as their darkness collided with the truth spilling forth from Oliver's heart. He felt the warmth spread further and further, pushing back against the encroaching nightmares. "Embrace it, Oliver," the girl urged. "Face it together." Gathering their strength, they pressed onward, confronting the advancing darkness. As they did, the figure's form began to distort, shifting between the horrors of regret and the flickering memories of love. "You cannot defeat what is already a part of you," it hissed. "Your fears, your shadows, they are you." "Not anymore," Oliver shouted, clenching his teeth and standing firm. "We choose to rise above." In that moment, an unexpected surge of collective clarity dawned upon him. Memories flickered like stars, laughter, shared dreams, nurturing hugs. He thought of the bright dreams he'd abandoned, the warmth of family, the good memories intertwined with lessons learned. "I refuse to hide," he called, and as he did, a pulse of brilliant light radiated from their entwined hands, illuminating the darkness more intensely than before. The figure faltered, hesitating in the face of the light. It blinked uncertainly. "But I feed on your pain. You are nothing without fear. Watch us." The girl shouted, her light answering Oliver's, blending into a pure force that transcended the shadows. "We hold the power to heal." With each step closer, the darkness writhed and twisted, desperately trying to draw them back into despair. But Oliver held his ground. "Together, we can rewrite our stories." The combined pull of their light surpassed fear's grasp. It swelled until it became a burst of radiant energy that engulfed the figure. Shadows screamed, unraveling like smoke under a flame. As the darkness began to dissipate, Oliver felt a profound sense of release. It was as if a mountain had lifted from his chest. He turned to the girl, whose eyes glimmered with newfound strength. "We did it." But just as the last remnants of the shadow attempted to flee, the figure persisted, its desperate voice thrusting one final taunt. "You've merely delayed the inevitable. You will always face me again. No. You will never own my fears again," Oliver declared bravely. He and the girl joined their hands once more, radiating an even greater light, a sphere of brilliant energy that enveloped the last remnants of darkness and smothered it. With one final, thunderous pulse, the shadows folded in on themselves, vanishing into nothingness. The silence left in the wake was palpable, heavy yet liberating, as if the oppressive weight of 100 years had finally lifted. Gasping for breath, Oliver felt the warmth of the old orphanage around him fade, the ghostly echoes dissolving into the night. The girl stood beside him, her face glowing with triumph. "We did it. It's finally over for now." "Yeah," he responded, still catching his breath. The remnants of fear lingered at the edges of his mind, but amid that fear lay a sense of hope. A promise of the future and acceptance of himself and all he had felt. They stepped back into the echoes of the orphanage as it transformed around them, sunlight streaming through cracked windows, illuminating the forgotten corners. The laughter of children floated on the air, erasing the lingering shadows of sorrow. "Thank you," the girl whispered, her eyes now filled with joy rather than fear. "You believed in me." "I believed in us," Oliver replied, a smile breaking through. He knew this wasn't a full stop in their journey. But they had faced the darkness and emerged whole. As morning light flooded the orphanage, they stepped outside together, leaving the malevolence behind. Hand in hand, they embraced a future that gleamed with possibility, moving forward into the world with resilience and hope. But just before they reached the gate, Oliver turned one last time to look back at the orphanage. Deep down, he knew that while they had conquered so much, there would always be elements of truth left to uncover, stories waiting to be told. And with that thought, he made a vow: no more hiding from the shadows. "Let us chase the light," he exclaimed, his heart buoyed by newfound freedom. And he took her hand gently. Together, they stepped into the brightness of a new day. Now is your moment. Did you love this conclusion? You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep these tales alive. Share your reactions and theories in the comments below. Let us chat about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who would love this. Your support makes all the difference.